check. 1, 2. Can you tell I just put a jacket on for the video? Getting ready to go to New York. I wanted to film a video about fear and faith. Here's what I got for you. Fear, how do we overcome it? How do we move forward when we are paralyzed? There are seasons in our lives when we have nowhere to turn but towards the Lord, when we are humbled beyond recognition to our former selves, when all we have is our faith that God will show us the way. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Isaiah 41:10. Do not be dismayed, it says, for I am with you. And the real test of faith comes when we feel we need this faith most, perhaps when we feel abandoned, because often to know that He is with us is when it seems like He has left us, or when the tests of this life are really coming down on us. We live in an age of anxiety and collapse, financial insecurity and madness. Suicides are spiking, institutions are crumbling, and the need to anchor ourselves in God seems to be increasing. In life, or God will push us at times into spaces of absolute dependence upon our faith. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of sound mind. 2 Timothy 1:7. So we are not to be afraid according to the word, but let's be honest. That's way easier said than done, and in these days increasingly so. But in these times, we can't succumb to fear and be afraid to take action. We also must work in conjunction with God, moving in the direction of our dreams, with the faith that He will open doors for us if we move consistently in that direction. No matter how hopeless a situation may seem, there is redemption and rejuvenation for us in our dependency to God. If our faith is up to the task of overcoming our fear, but let's look at fear and address it for what it is, because perhaps it is a sin, but it's also a natural process from our lizard brain that is there to help us survive, to protect us from dangerous situations. The only problem is any situation that helps us evolve or progress also feels like danger to that lizard brain, also provokes fear. When people say someone is fearless, that's probably not exactly true. Fear is a natural reaction when we are provoked into change. Jump and the net will appear, the saying goes. How much easier would it be and more convenient if it was the net will appear, then jump? But the reason the saying doesn't go like that is because we can't really see the net until we jump. Change always provokes fear because our amygdala, I think is what it's called, or lizard brain, isn't concerned at all with our evolution or dream outside of what that means to our survival. Our lizard brain is concerned with our survival, which to it feels like our comfort zone, or the place where things are contained, controlled, and safe. And if all we needed or wanted was to survive, then listening to the voices of fear might make sense, at least superficially, because in actual fact the world is not static, and nor can we be. So even the mechanism of our survival or fear response is faulty when over-leveraged against our sense to jump and trust that the net will appear. So fear, of course, will show up. Our brains would be broken if it didn't. Welcome fear. Say hello to the lizard brain. Shall we say hello to fear? Let's have a conversation. Say thank you for showing up. I know you're there to help make sure I survive fear. But let's have a chat, shall we? See, if we don't change, if we don't evolve, if we don't take chances, there's this thing called entropy, which means things lean towards this disorder and chaos, and it's the same with our spirits. If we don't evolve, we devolve. We're either busy being born or we're busy dying, says Bob Dylan. You may think you are protective or a protective mechanism for my survival fear, but in truth, that's only true in the here and now. If we don't jump and trust the net will be there, eventually we will fall, and then it may not be. The net is made of faith. So to appear, it requires that we jump. That's a good conversation to have with fear, but that alone won't eliminate fear. To leave our comfort zone is difficult for a multitude of reasons, survival being one, laziness being another. To start something new is daunting, hard work, uncomfortable, and riddled with the possibility of failure. Your fear isn't exactly lying to you, at least not from its limited perspective, which brings us back to faith. Your fear has no relationship with faith. Your fear doesn't even know faith exists, or if it does, it considers faith a fantasy. You are like a hostage negotiator between faith and fear, and the hostage is your future. Fear has your future kidnapped, and faith wants you to pay the ransom. I think trying to push fear away and pretend like it's not there is like gaslighting yourself into insanity. Fear is there and is a totally necessary aspect of our psychological makeup. I think the key is just to recognize it for what it is, limited in its perspective. It's the hammer in your toolkit, but you still need a screwdriver, a tape measure, and a saw as well. I mean, faith, hope, and belief with a little bit of fear to keep everyone honest. But of course, to listen only to the voices of fear is equally insane. Faith turns the capture of your dream into a game, and we have to coach ourselves away from the voices of fear and lean towards faith, especially when the gravity of fear is at its heaviest, during a transition or when we first jump looking for the net. I think faith overrides fear somewhere between the jump and the net, in that dangerous mid-air flight when it becomes absolutely necessary, and maybe not until then. I guess that's why they call it a leap of faith.